First contact and betrayal. The signal arrived on a Tuesday. Dr. Samira Chen stared at her monitor in the radio astronomy lab beneath Mauna Kea, Hawaii, her hands trembling as she verified the data for the 5th time. There was no mistake. After decades of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, humanity had finally received an answer. "It's deliberate," she whispered to herself, watching the perfectly structured mathematical sequence repeat. "It's aimed directly at us." Within hours, the world's leading scientists and government officials convened an emergency meeting. The signal contained what appeared to be coordinates for a meeting point just beyond Mars orbit, along with a time frame: 3 months. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the back of the packed United Nations Assembly Hall, arms crossed as she listened to the heated debate. At 42, she was one of the most decorated officers in the International Space Force, with 4 Mars missions under her belt. Her short-cropped salt-and-pepper hair and the scar running along her jawline, a souvenir from a near-fatal hull breach on her 2nd mission, gave her an imposing presence. "We can't just ignore this," Dr. Chen argued from the podium. "This is the moment humanity has been waiting for." General Harrison Williams rose from his seat, his weathered face grave. "Or, it's the moment we've been dreading. We know nothing about these beings or their intentions." Reyes listened as the debate raged between caution and curiosity. In the end, curiosity won. Humanity would answer the call. The ISF Horizon, Earth's most advanced spacecraft, was outfitted for the mission with Commander Reyes at the helm. Her crew included Dr. Chen, military personnel, and diplomatic representatives from major Earth powers. "Are we making a mistake?" Reyes asked Chen privately as they prepared for launch. The scientist was running final checks on the communication array designed to translate their messages into the mathematical language from the signal. "Fear has never advanced our species, Commander," Chen replied without looking up. "Only courage." As the journey to the coordinates took 17 days. As they approached, long-range scanners detected a massive object waiting exactly where the signal had indicated. "My God," breathed Lieutenant Cato as the ship came into visual range. "It's beautiful." The alien vessel resembled a giant nautilus shell, its pearlescent surface shimmering with colors that shouldn't exist in the vacuum of space. It dwarfed the horizon, making Earth's pride and joy look like a toy boat next to an ocean liner. "Open a channel," Reyes ordered, her mouth dry. "Let's introduce ourselves." The response was immediate. A holographic projection materialized on the horizon's bridge. A being with silvery skin and 4 arms, its face a complex arrangement of iridescent plates that shifted constantly. "We are the Voidborn Alliance," the being announced in perfect English, though its mouth never moved. "We have watched your species with great interest. You have potential." The diplomatic exchange seemed to go well. The aliens, calling themselves the Voidborn, expressed admiration for human resilience and creativity. They offered technology beyond humanity's dreams. Clean energy, advanced medicine, faster than light travel. All they requested in return was permission to establish embassies on Earth and access to some of the planet's rare minerals. "It's too perfect," Reyes confided to her XO, Commander Liam Davidson, after their 3rd meeting with the aliens. "They're offering everything and asking for almost nothing. Maybe they're just genuinely advanced enough to be altruistic," Davidson suggested. "Not everyone thinks like military strategists, Elena." But Reyes couldn't shake her unease, even as Earth's governments eagerly prepared welcoming ceremonies for their new allies. When the Voidborn requested that Earth power down its defensive systems for 12 hours as a gesture of trust during their arrival, she formally registered her objection. She was overruled. The Voidborn ships arrived on Earth with great fanfare. 12 massive vessels took position over major cities: New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Delhi, Rio de Janeiro, and others. Billions watched live streams as the first delegates emerged to meet with world leaders. Commander Reyes was in the Pentagon's situation room when the first energy signature spiked. "Something's happening," a technician called out. "The ships are activating some kind of..." The feeds from New York went dark, then Beijing, then London. The attack was simultaneous and devastating. Energy beams of impossible power carved through Earth's most populous cities, vaporizing everything in their path. Military installations were targeted with precision strikes before they could even respond. In the chaos that followed, Commander Reyes took command of what remained of North America's defense forces. They managed to evacuate millions before the second wave of attacks, shepherding them to underground facilities built during the Cold War and long since repurposed. Why? Dr. Chen sobbed as they watched satellite footage of Shanghai disappearing in a flash of light. We offered them friendship. Because we're sitting on something they want, Reyes replied grimly. And they decided it was easier to take it than to trade for it. The first day of the attack claimed 2 billion lives. The second day, humanity began to fight back. What the Voidborn hadn't expected was humanity's sheer bloody-mindedness when cornered. Nuclear strikes against the alien ships proved ineffective due to advanced shielding. But Earth's military forces quickly adapted. Observing that the ships had to temporarily lower shields when firing their main weapons, coordinated missile strikes from hidden submarines and mountain bases managed to damage 2 vessels. One crashed into the Atlantic. The other, critically damaged, attempted to retreat to orbit before being shot down over the Sahara. The cost was staggering, another billion dead from the fighting and subsequent environmental disasters. But humanity had drawn blood. The remaining Voidborn ships pulled back to high orbit, apparently reassessing their strategy against an enemy that refused to simply die. In a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Reyes gathered the surviving military and scientific leaders. They'll be back, she told the grim-faced assembly, and next time they'll come prepared for resistance. We have maybe a few years before they return with a force designed to finish what they started. She looked around the room, at the haunted eyes and determined expressions. So we'd better be ready to show them exactly who they're dealing with. The resistance rises 5 years past since the day the skies fell. Commander Elena Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, stood on the observation deck of Armstrong Base, humanity's first lunar military installation. Through the reinforced viewport, Earth hung like a wounded jewel against the blackness of space. Large portions of the planet's surface still bore the scars of the Voidborn attack, vast regions reduced to glass and ash. But amid the devastation, points of light marked the locations of rebuilt cities, protected by energy domes that mirrored the technology salvaged from the crashed alien ships. Admiral Dr. Khan is ready for you, her aide announced. Reyes nodded and turned away from the view. In the wake of the attack, the surviving nations had formed the Earth Defense Coalition, a unified command structure that transcended old borders and conflicts. Old enemies now worked side by side, united by the simple desire to ensure humanity's survival. The base's research wing hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked around the clock. At the center of this controlled chaos stood Dr. Amir Khan, formerly a quantum physicist at CERN, now the EDC's chief science officer. His lab was a maze of equipment salvaged from the wreckage of the downed Voidborn ships. "Tell me you have good news, Doctor," Reyes said as she entered. Khan looked up, dark circles under his eyes but excitement visible on his face. At 36, he'd already developed gray streaks in his black hair, a testament to the pressure he worked under. "We've finally cracked their shield technology," he said, gesturing to a pulsing sphere of energy contained within a testing chamber. "And we've improved it." Over the next hour, Khan explained how his team had reverse-engineered the Voidborn shields and discovered a fundamental flaw in their design. By reconfiguring the quantum matrices, they'd created a defensive system that not only blocked attacks, but redirected the energy. "In essence, the harder they hit us, the harder the shield hits back," Khan concluded. Reyes studied the holographic simulations with cautious optimism. "Mass production? We've simplified the design enough that we can equip major installations and larger ships immediately. Personal shields for ground forces will take another 6 months." It was the breakthrough they'd been waiting for, but Reyes knew shields alone wouldn't win the coming war. Earth needed allies. 3 months earlier, an EDC deep space probe had detected unusual activity near Neptune. Instead of the Voidborn returning as feared, they discovered something unexpected. Another alien ship, damaged and hiding in the shadow of the ice giant. The vessel belonged to the Meridian Compact, a coalition of species from the far side of the galaxy. They had been fighting the Voidborn for centuries, driven to the brink of extinction by the same enemy that had attacked Earth. The Voidborn are resource harvesters, explained Talitha, the Meridian ambassador during their first diplomatic exchange. The alien resembled a tall, willowy humanoid with skin that shifted between deep blues and purples, reflecting her emotional state. They strip inhabited worlds of valuable elements, wiping out native species as an efficient alternative to negotiation or cohabitation. "Why didn't you warn us?" Reyes had demanded. "We tried," Talitha replied, her skin darkening with what might have been regret. "But we were too late. Your world detected our approach and the Voidborn jammed our communications. By the time we reached your solar system, the attack had already begun. Now, 6 Meridian vessels were docked at Armstrong Base, being retrofitted with Khan's shield technology, while their engineers shared what they knew about Voidborn weaknesses. Our intelligence suggests they're assembling a massive fleet," Talitha told Reyes during their latest strategy session. "The attack on your world was merely a resource-gathering operation by a small battle group. When they return, it will be with an armada designed for complete planetary subjugation. How long do we have? Perhaps one of your Earth years." "No more." Reyes studied the star charts showing Voidborn territory. "Then we need to do more than just wait for them to come to us. We need to take the fight to them." The mission she proposed was audacious to the point of insanity. A small, fast strike team would use a modified Meridian ship to infiltrate Voidborn space and gather intelligence on their fleet movements. More importantly, they would plant quantum beacons at key locations, creating a network that would allow Earth's forces to target their counterattack with precision. "This is a suicide mission," General Williams objected when Reyes presented the plan to EDC Command. "Probably," she agreed. "But without this intelligence, we're fighting blind." To no one's surprise, Reyes insisted on leading the mission herself. Her strike team included 4 human specialists and 3 Meridian operatives, including Talitha's life partner, a tactical officer named Corin. Their ship, dubbed the Spectre, was a hybrid of salvaged Voidborn technology, Meridian stealth systems, and human ingenuity. It could mask not only its visual profile but its energy signature and gravitational footprint. The night before departure, Dr. Khan found Reyes in the ship's engine room, running final checks on the quantum drive. "You know, most admirals delegate this kind of work," he said, handing her a tool she'd been reaching for. "Most admirals haven't piloted experimental spacecraft through enemy territory," she replied without looking up. Khan was silent for a moment. "The shield modifications on the Spectre are untested at full combat stress levels. If you're discovered and they hit you with everything they've got, then we'll find out if your math is as good as you think it is," Reyes finished, finally meeting his eyes. "Just come back," Khan said softly. "Earth needs you. We all do." Reyes nodded, uncomfortable with the emotion thick in the air between them. 8 weeks. If we're not back by then, implement the Ragnarok protocol." The Spectre departed under cover of a solar flare, slipping past the automated Voidborn drones that patrolled the edges of the solar system. Their journey took them through the darkness between stars, skirting known Voidborn territory until they reached what the Meridians believed to be a fleet staging area. What they found exceeded their worst fears. Not dozens or hundreds of ships, but thousands, an armada of world killers being assembled for a single purpose. "They're not just coming back to finish what they started," Reyes realized as they covertly mapped the fleet's formations. "They're making an example of us. They want every species in the galaxy to know what happens when you successfully resist." The Voidborn. Their mission to plant the quantum beacons went smoothly until the final location, a massive space station serving as the Armada's command center. As Corin and Reyes spacewalked toward the station's blind spot, a patrol ship veered, unexpectedly, in their direction. "We've been spotted." Corin's voice came through the comm, strained but controlled. "Admiral, you need to place the final beacon. I'll create a diversion." Before Reyes could object, Corin activated his suit's thrusters and launched away from the station directly into the patrol ship's line of sight. The resulting firefight gave Reyes just enough time to plant the beacon and escape back to the Spectre. Corin did not return. The journey home was tense, with two Void-born pursuit vessels following their ion trail to the edge of Earth's solar system before the Spectre's stealth systems finally shook them. When they emerged from FTL travel near lunar orbit, Earth's defense forces were already at high alert. The quantum beacon network had activated, sending back real-time data on the approaching Void-born armada. Reyes's intelligence confirmed their worst fears. The attack would come within days, not months. But it had also provided them with something invaluable: hope. For the first time, humanity would face the Void-born prepared. Humanity's final warning. The skies over Earth filled with stars that weren't stars at all. Admiral Elena Reyes stood in the EDC Strategic Command Center, buried 2 miles beneath what had once been Geneva. The massive holographic display showed the approaching Void-born armada, thousands of ships moving in perfect formation, led by a command vessel the size of Manhattan. "All defense platforms report ready," Commander Davidson announced, his voice steady despite the tension that filled the room. "Quantum shield network at 100% capacity." Reyes nodded. In the 5 years since the first attack, humanity had transformed its defenses. 300 orbital platforms equipped with Khan's improved shield technology and weapons reverse-engineered from Void-born technology formed Earth's first line of defense. Behind them, a fleet of 200 ships, small compared to the enemy armada, but armed with technologies the Void-born had never encountered. Most important was the quantum shield network. Thousands of interconnected generators creating a planetary defense system that would, in theory, turn the enemy's power against them. In theory. Signal from the Void-born flagship, the communications officer reported. "They're demanding immediate surrender and complete disarmament." "No response," Reyes ordered. "Let them think we're cowering in fear." The Void-born commander apparently took their silence as submission. The alien armada advanced confidently, their forward ships charging weapons as they approached the orbital defense platforms. "They're following the exact attack pattern from last time," Davidson observed. "Overconfidence," Reyes replied. "They think they know what we're capable of." The first Void-born energy beams lanced toward Earth and encountered the quantum shield. For a moment, the atmosphere itself seemed to ripple with prismatic light. Then, impossibly, the beams reflected back along their trajectories, striking the very ships that had fired them. 12 Void-born vessels erupted into balls of plasma. A startled cheer erupted through the command center before Reyes silenced it with a raised hand. "That was the easy part," she warned. "They'll adapt quickly." She was right. The remaining ships immediately altered their attack pattern, switching to kinetic weapons. Massive projectiles accelerated to near-light speed. "Platforms 7 through 15, intercept those projectiles," Reyes ordered. "All ships remain in defensive positions." The orbital platforms fired concentrated energy beams that vaporized the incoming projectiles, but the strain on the defense network was evident. Warning lights flashed across the command displays. "Admiral," Dr. Khan's voice came through a private channel. "The quantum shield is holding, but the power demands are exceeding our estimates. At this rate, we have maybe 30 minutes before systemic failure." Reyes had anticipated this. "Implement Phoenix Protocol," she ordered. Khan hesitated. "Elena, that's not been fully tested. The power requirements alone could—" "We're out of options, Amir. Do it." In a research facility beneath the Indian Ocean, Dr. Khan and his team initiated the protocol, channeling power from Earth's unified grid into a single, massive pulse designed to overload and reset the quantum shield network. It would create a brief window of vulnerability, but if successful, would allow for a devastating counterattack. As the Void-born fleet pressed their advantage, one of the Meridian vessels broke formation. It was the Sunlance, commanded by Talitha herself. The ship accelerated directly toward the Void-born command vessel, weaving through enemy fire with impossible precision. "What is she doing?" Davidson demanded. That wasn't in the battle plan. Reyes watched, her expression grim. She's giving us our window. The sun lance collided with the command vessel's shield, its warp core detonating in a blinding flash. The explosion created a momentary fluctuation in the enemy's defensive systems, exactly what Earth's forces needed. All platforms target the command ship, Reyes ordered. Fire everything we've got. 300 energy beams converged on the damaged section of the Voidborn flagship. Its shields flickered and failed, allowing the concentrated firepower to tear through its hull. At that moment, Dr. Khan activated the Phoenix Protocol. Earth's quantum shield collapsed, then reformed a heartbeat later as a focused wave of energy that expanded outward from the planet like a ripple in a pond. When it reached the Voidborn fleet, the effect was catastrophic. Ships were torn apart as their own shield systems turned against them, creating cascade failures that spread through their formation. In the command center, screens flickered as power fluctuated throughout Earth systems. When they stabilized, the holographic display showed a battlefield transformed. More than half of the Voidborn fleet had been destroyed or disabled in a single strike. But the cost was high. 70% of Earth's defense platforms were offline, and a third of their fleet had suffered critical damage. Status on the Phoenix Protocol, Reyes demanded. No response came from Khan's facility. Get me a visual, she ordered. The display shifted to show the underwater research center, or what remained of it. The entire structure had imploded under the strain of channeling so much power. Amir, Reyes whispered, a rare break in her composure. There was no time to mourn. The remaining Voidborn ships were regrouping, preparing for another assault. All functional vessels, form up on my position, Reyes ordered, heading for the lift that would take her to her flagship, the Defiance. We're taking the fight to them. The battle that followed would be remembered as humanity's finest hour. Outnumbered and outgunned, Earth's fleet executed a series of maneuvers that confused and divided the Voidborn forces. Ships worked in pairs, one drawing enemy fire while the other struck at vulnerable points identified by the quantum beacon network. Admiral Reyes led from the front, the Defiance weaving through enemy formations with reckless precision. Her years of experience piloting experimental spacecraft made her virtually untouchable in the chaos of battle. 3 hours into the engagement, the tide began to turn. The Voidborn, unaccustomed to protracted warfare against a technologically adaptive enemy, began making mistakes. Their formations grew ragged, their responses predictable. They're beginning to retreat, Davidson reported as several enemy ships broke formation and accelerated away from Earth. Not yet, Reyes replied coldly. Activate the Ragnarok protocol. Throughout the solar system, the quantum beacons Reyes's team had risked everything to plant began to pulse in unison. The technology had been designed not just for surveillance, but as the foundation for a weapon of last resort. The beacons created a quantum entanglement field that linked every Voidborn ship equipped with their standard shield technology. When activated, the field forced their shields into resonance, then catastrophic failure. From the bridge of the Defiance, Reyes watched as ship after ship throughout the enemy fleet suddenly lost power, their hulls breaching as atmospheric pressure blew them apart from within. Only the command vessel and a handful of ships without the standard shield configuration survived the cascade. They immediately began accelerating away from Earth, preparing to jump to FTL. Let them go, Reyes ordered, as her tactical officer prepared to pursue. Admiral, Davidson questioned, they need to deliver our message. As the surviving Voidborn ships retreated, Reyes opened a channel broadcasting on all frequencies the aliens used. This is Admiral Elena Reyes of the Earth Defense Coalition, she began, her voice steady and implacable. Today you learned that humanity will not be conquered. We will not be harvested, we will not be exterminated. She paused, letting her words reach every corner of the retreating fleet. You came to our world uninvited. You slaughtered billions without provocation. You returned thinking we would be easy prey. On the main viewer, the crippled Voidborn command ship continued accelerating away from Earth. We have mapped your Territories. We have mastered your technologies. We have planted quantum beacons throughout your empire that can trigger the same cascade failure you witnessed today. This wasn't entirely true. They had only managed to plant beacons at key, strategic locations, but the Voidborn had no way of knowing that. This is humanity's final warning to the Voidborn Alliance and any other species contemplating aggression against Earth. Leave us in peace, or face extinction. We will not warn you again. 6 months later, Admiral Reyes stood in the new EDC headquarters built atop the ruins of New York City. The view from her office window showed a planet healing, new cities rising with technologies that would have seemed magical a decade earlier, forests reclaiming burned lands, and in orbit, the framework of humanity's first true interstellar, vessels taking shape. A message had arrived that morning from deep space. The Meridian Compact reported that the Voidborn had withdrawn from contested territories throughout the galaxy. More surprisingly, 3 previously unknown species had reached out to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. "It seems your warning was heard, Admiral," said General Williams, now gray-haired but still serving as her chief of staff. "For now," Reyes replied. She picked up a small quantum crystal, a memorial token for Dr. Khan and all others who had sacrificed themselves in humanity's darkest hour. "But we keep building. We keep preparing." "You think they'll come back?" Williams asked. Reyes looked out at the stars now visible as darkness fell over the city. "No," she said finally. "I think they'll stay away. But the galaxy now knows we're here. And they know exactly what happens when you threaten humanity." She set down the crystal and turned to the star charts displaying dozens of newly discovered worlds, potential colonies, allies, or rivals. "So we'd better be ready to introduce ourselves properly this time." There you end.